The Galactic Council had seen many things in its 12,000 years of operation. Wars that scorched entire star systems, plagues that wiped out civilizations, diplomatic incidents involving inappropriate tentacle placement, but nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, could have prepared them for the day humanity decided to join the party. Ambassador Krelthar of the Varaxian Empire stood in the grand reception hall, all 7 of his eyes scanning the assembled dignitaries with the kind of bored superiority that only comes from being part of a species that invented faster-than-light travel, while humans were still figuring out which end of a pointed stick goes into the mammoth. His exoskeleton gleamed under the bioluminescent chandeliers, each plate polished to a mirror finish that reflected his own magnificence back at him. Gorgeous. Another species seeking admission, he chittered to his aide, a smaller Varaxian named Plix, who had the unfortunate job of agreeing with everything Krelthar said. "What is this? The 15th this cycle?" "17th, Excellence," Plix corrected, immediately regretting it. Krelthar's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "I wasn't asking for accuracy, I was being rhetorical." "Of course, Excellence. How foolish of me to assume you didn't know the exact number." "Precisely." Krelthar straightened to his full height of 9 feet, which was impressive until you remembered that 3 of those feet were just his fancy ceremonial headdress. "So tell me, what backwater rock are we admitting today?" Plix consulted his datapad, his smaller eyes squinting at the information. "They call themselves humans, Excellence. From a planet designated Sol 3, though they refer to it as Earth." Earth. Krelthar tested the word like it was a piece of rotten fruit. "How pedestrian. What are their qualifications? Surely they've mastered antimatter propulsion, quantum computing, the complete works of Shakespeare the Enlightened?" "Well, no, Excellence. They've barely achieved rudimentary faster-than-light capability. Their computer systems still use something called binary code, and I have no record of Shakespeare in their cultural database." Krelthar's exoskeleton did that thing where it rippled with suppressed laughter, which looked like a wave passing through armor plating and sounded like someone shuffling a deck of cards made from beetle shells. "Then why in the 17 hells are we admitting them?" Council Directive 447B, Excellence. Any species that achieves interstellar travel within their first 1,000,000 years of evolution and doesn't immediately blow themselves up gets an automatic audience. "How merciful of us," Krelthar drawled. "And who exactly is representing this humanity?" Before Plix could answer, the massive doors to the reception hall began to open. Now, these weren't your standard doors. These were 60 feet of carved crystalline barrier that had witnessed the entry of the most impressive beings in the Wijisar galaxy. The Kromnathi hive mind had once entered these doors, carried on a living carpet of their own workers. The ethereal consorts of Andromeda had floated through in a cloud of pure thought and expensive perfume. The Silicon Collective had literally restructured their molecular bonds to flow through like liquid metal just to show off. So everyone was expecting something impressive. What they got was Emma Rodriguez. She was 5'4", maybe 5'5", if she was wearing the chunky boots that the Galactic Council's sensors completely failed to account for. She had brown hair tied back in what humans apparently called a ponytail, though Krelthar failed to see any equine appendages attached to her skull. She wore a simple dark blue uniform with a patch on the shoulder depicting her planet, a lovely marble of blues and greens that looked like about 600 other terrestrial planets in the database. She looked, and there was really no polite way to put this, utterly unremarkable. Krelthar leaned toward Plix. "That's it? That's the human?" "Apparently, Excellence. She looks like she'd blow over in a stiff breeze. I've seen more impressive specimens in a petri dish." Emma Rodriguez took her first step into the hall. The ground shook, not metaphorically, not in some poetic sense. The floor, made from compressed neutronium mined from the heart of a collapsed star and specifically designed to withstand the weight of beings who measured their mass in metric megatons, actually vibrated under her foot. Every being in the hall felt it. The Varaxians felt it through their feet. The floating lumina felt it through their gravitic sensors. Even the energy beings who technically didn't have a physical presence felt it, and spent the next few seconds wondering if they should start worrying about having a physical presence. Krelthar's 7 eyes widened. What in the frozen depths was that? Emma took another step. The chandeliers swayed. Somewhere in the back of the hall, a dignitary from Epsilon Eridani made a noise that translated roughly to "Mommy." She walked normally, or at least what appeared to be normally for a human. No stomping, no dramatic heavy footfalls. Just a regular walk, the kind you'd use to get to your kitchen for a midnight snack. But with each step, the hall trembled like the galaxy itself was reconsidering its life choices. Plix was frantically consulting his datapad, his smaller eyes darting across screens of information. Excellence! The sensors are going insane. According to this, she weighs 0.006 tons. That's nothing. I've seen children heavier than that. Yes, Excellence, but according to the gravity differential readings, she's exerting force equivalent to... This can't be right. Plix tapped the datapad several times like it was malfunctioning. It says her actual weight under her home planet's gravity is approximately 600 times higher than what she should weigh in our standard 1G environment. Krelthar's mandibles hung open, which was his species equivalent of a jaw drop, and looked disturbingly like watching a car crash in slow motion. That's impossible. Her planet would have to have a gravity well comparable to a gas giant. She'd be crushed flat. Emma had reached the center of the hall now, apparently oblivious to the fact that she'd just caused a minor seismic event with her morning constitutional. She smiled, and oh, that was another thing humans did that was deeply unsettling to most species. They bared their teeth as a sign of friendliness. Most civilized species recognize that behavior as either a threat display or a prelude to biting someone's face off. "Greetings," Emma said, her voice carrying across the hall with the kind of confidence that suggested she either didn't notice or didn't care that every being present was staring at her like she'd just sprouted a second head. "I'm Commander Emma Rodriguez, representing the United Earth Coalition. Thank you for having me." The silence that followed could have been cut with a knife, served on a platter, and sold as an awkward appetizer at a dinner party nobody wanted to attend. High Chancellor Voss, a being of pure light who served as the council's leader and had a voice that sounded like wind chimes arguing with a synthesizer, finally spoke. "Commander Rodriguez, welcome to the Galactic Council. We have reviewed your species' application for membership and find ourselves curious about several aspects of your biology." Emma's smile didn't waver. "I'm happy to answer any questions." "Excellent." Voss's light pulsed in what might have been relief or might have been the cosmic equivalent of nervous laughter. "Perhaps we could start with why our facilities are registering seismic activity every time you take a step." "Oh, that," Emma laughed, and the sound was so genuinely amused that half the council members flinched. "Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to mention in the preliminary reports, Earth has slightly higher gravity than your standard here. We're working at about 1.4 times what you've got going on. I'm actually feeling pretty light and bouncy right now. Very refreshing." 1.4, Krelthar repeated, his voice climbing to frequencies that only he could hear. 1.4 times standard. "Give or take," Emma shrugged, which caused several nearby council members to instinctively back away from the movement of her shoulders. "We grew up on it, so it feels normal to us, although I have to say, your setup here is really nice, very accommodating." Plix was still frantically calculating. Excellence. If her species evolved under 1.4 times standard gravity, their bone density alone would be... "Terrifying," Krelthar finished. "The word you're looking for is terrifying." High Chancellor Voss flickered with what might have been curiosity, or possibly an incoming migraine. "Commander Rodriguez, your preliminary reports indicated..." That your species is classified as a persistence predator. Could you elaborate on what that means? Sure. Emma's enthusiasm was somehow more disturbing than her gravitational impact. So, back when we were evolving, we couldn't really catch prey by being faster or stronger. We're actually kind of mediocre in both departments compared to other predators on our planet. But what we could do is just keep going. We'd pick a target and follow it for hours, sometimes days, until it literally collapsed from exhaustion. Then we'd walk up and finish the job. The hall had gone so quiet you could have heard a pin drop if pins existed in space and weren't immediately sucked into the nearest airlock. Days, someone whispered from the back row. Oh yeah, Emma continued cheerfully. We've got this thing called persistence hunting. See, most animals are better sprinters than us, but they overheat quickly. We don't. We just keep going. And going. And going. It's actually how we got good at long-distance running. Some humans can run for hours without stopping. There are these events called ultramarathons where people run for like 100 miles or more, just for fun. Ambassador Krelthar felt something he hadn't experienced in his 200 years of diplomatic service. Genuine fear. For fun, he repeated weakly. Well, it's more like a challenge, but yeah. We're weird like that. Emma looked around the hall, seemingly oblivious to the fact that she was describing what most species would classify as a horror movie scenario. Oh, and we're really good at throwing things too. Our species can accelerate objects to lethal velocities with just our arms. It's because of how our shoulders evolved. Pretty neat, right? Neat, Voss echoed, his light dimming slightly. Yes, quite neat. Tell me, Commander, what exactly does your species eat? Oh, we're omnivores. We can eat almost anything organic. Meat, plants, fungi, you name it. Our digestive systems are pretty robust. We can even process some toxins that would kill other species. There's this chemical compound called capsaicin that causes a burning sensation in most living things. We put it in our food on purpose because we like the taste. The representative from the botanical collective, a species that communicated through releasing spores and looked like a very disappointed flower arrangement, released a cloud that roughly translated to, "What fresh hell is this?" Krelthar decided to try a different approach. Maybe if he could find something normal about these humans, something relatable, he could salvage this diplomatic nightmare. Commander Rodriguez, surely your species has some weaknesses, some vulnerability that keeps you in check. Emma thought about this for a moment, tapping her chin in a gesture that somehow made her look both thoughtful and slightly menacing. Well, we're pretty susceptible to our own emotions. We can be irrational, act against our own self-interest, make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. Is that what you mean? No, I mean physically, some biological weakness. Oh, Emma brightened up again, which everyone had learned to dread in the last 5 minutes. Well, we're pretty fragile in some ways. Our skin punctures easily. We can break bones. We need oxygen to breathe, water to drink, food to eat. Temperature extremes can kill us. We're vulnerable to disease, though we've gotten pretty good at fighting that. We can only survive a few minutes without oxygen, a few days without water, a few weeks without food, and we need to sleep about a third of every day, or we start to lose cognitive function. There was a collective sense of relief in the hall. Finally, something reasonable. Something that made sense. Then Emma added, "Of course, humans are also really good at ignoring all of that when we need to." The relief evaporated faster than water on a hot plate. Ignoring it, Voss said carefully. Sure, we've got this whole fight-or-flight response system, but we also have the ability to override it with willpower. Humans have been known to perform incredible feats when properly motivated. Lifting objects many times their body weight, running on broken legs, staying conscious through injuries that should cause immediate shock. There's this thing called an adrenaline rush that basically turns our safety limits off for a short period. Krelthar wanted to go home. He wanted to go home very badly. Perhaps he could fake a diplomatic emergency. Maybe his planet was on fire. That seemed reasonable. Plix leaned in close. Excellence. The preliminary reports also mention something called the human concept of pack bonding. I don't want to know. I think you should ask. I really don't want to know. But High Chancellor Voss was already asking because apparently the universe had decided today was the day for Krelthar to suffer. Commander Rodriguez, we've noted some unusual references in your cultural database to something called pack bonding. Could you explain this phenomenon? Emma's face lit up like a star going supernova, and Krelthar knew in his thorax that whatever came next was going to be worse than everything that had come before. Oh man, pack bonding is the best. So humans have this tendency to form emotional attachments to just about anything. Other humans, sure, but also animals, plants, objects, sometimes even concepts. We had pets before we had agriculture. We domesticated wolves into dogs and basically created tens of thousands of years of friendship with creatures that started off as competitors. We have cats, which are basically small predators that we let live in our homes because they're cute. Some people have emotional attachments to their vehicles. I once knew a guy who cried when his spaceship got decommissioned. That seems inefficient, Voss observed. Oh, it totally is, but it's also one of our strengths. That pack bonding instinct means humans will absolutely throw down for things they care about. We'll fight for our friends, our family, our pets, even complete strangers if we decide they're part of our pack. There are documented cases throughout our history of humans sacrificing themselves to save others, sometimes people they don't even know. The Glycean representative, a being of living ice who communicated through temperature changes, somehow managed to convey the sentiment of, "This species is insane," through a subtle frost pattern. Emma was on a roll now, apparently mistaking the horrified silence for fascination. And the best part is, we pack bond with other species too. When we started exploring space and met our first alien life forms, these little silicon-based organisms on Mars, we called them tardigrades, we immediately started studying them, protecting them, giving them names. Scientists cried when the first samples died in testing. We pack bonded with microscopic organisms. Fascinating, Krelthar managed to say, though his tone suggested it was anything but. Right? And that's not even getting into our capacity for spite. Humans can hold grudges for generations. We've fought wars over insults. We have a saying, "Don't make me come over there." It's meant to be a warning, but what's really wild is that sometimes the distance to over there is measured in light years and will still make the trip. Ambassador Threen of the Peaceful Collective, a species whose entire evolutionary history had been devoid of conflict, raised a trembling appendage. Commander Rodriguez, surely your species has moved beyond such primitive aggressive tendencies. Emma's expression shifted to something more serious, and somehow that was worse than the enthusiasm. Ambassador, humans are capable of incredible compassion and devastating violence, often from the same individual. We've committed terrible atrocities, but we've also produced art, music, literature that explores the depths of emotion and experience. We're contradictions. We'll fight to the death over an idea, but we'll also share our last meal with a stranger. We've nearly destroyed our own planet multiple times, but we've also worked together to save it. We're messy and complicated, and yeah, sometimes scary, but we're also trying to be better. The hall was silent again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. Contemplative, thoughtful. High Chancellor Voss's light pulsed in a complex pattern. Commander Rodriguez, your species presents a unique challenge to this council. You are unlike any species we have encountered. Your biology is impressive and frankly alarming. Your psychology is baffling. Your capacity for both creation and destruction is noteworthy. The question before us is whether humanity is ready to join the galactic community. Emma stood there, all 5'4" of her, with the weight of her entire species' future on her shoulders. Shoulders that, as previously noted, were excellent at throwing lethal projectiles. High Chancellor, I understand your concerns. We're not perfect. We're not even close. But we're here in good faith, looking to learn from you, to share what we know, and to find our place among the stars. We've spent our entire history looking up and wondering if we were alone. Now we know we're not, and that's terrifying and amazing in equal measure. We want to be part of this. We want to contribute. And yeah, maybe we're a little scary, but I promise you, we're a lot scarier when you make us feel excluded. Krelthar couldn't help but interject. Was that a threat, Commander? Emma laughed, that same genuine laugh that made everyone uncomfortable. No, Ambassador, it's just an observation. Humans don't do well when they feel isolated or rejected. We get creative and not always in good ways, but when we're included, when we're part of a team, when we've pack-bonded with you, we're loyal to a fault. We'll have your back even when it's not strategic, especially when it's not strategic. Voss's light flickered in what might have been amusement. You make quite the case, Commander, though I'm not sure if you are advocating for your species' admission or providing evidence for why we should avoid you at all costs. Little bit of both, honestly, Emma admitted. Look, I'm not going to pretend we're something we're not. We're strong, we're stubborn, we're weird, and we eat poison for fun, but we're also capable of incredible kindness. We make art about concepts we can't even see. We laugh at our own misfortune. We hope even when hope is illogical. And most importantly, we never, ever give up on anything. Ever. It's annoying even to us sometimes. The council chambers erupted in discussion, dozens of species communicating in dozens of ways, spoken language, telepathy, interpretive dance, aggressive pheromone release, and in one case, what appeared to be a very pointed light show. Krelthar turned to Plix. What do you think? Plix consulted his datapad one more time. Excellence. I think if we don't admit them, they'll probably just build their own council, possibly right next to ours, possibly louder than ours, possibly with blackjack and other human recreational activities. And if we do admit them, then they're our problem, but at least we can keep an eye on them. Krelthar sighed, a sound like air escaping from a broken accordion. I hate it when you're logical. High Chancellor Voss called for order, which took several minutes to achieve because getting hundreds of different species to stop arguing is like herding cats. If cats were from different dimensions and some of them were made of antimatter. The Galactic Council has reached a decision, Voss announced, his light brightening to fill the hall. Commander Emma Rodriguez, on behalf of humanity and Earth, we welcome you to the Galactic Council. Your species is hereby granted provisional membership status, with full membership to be reconsidered after a period of assessment. Emma's smile could have powered a small sun. Thank you, High Chancellor. You won't regret this. I'm regretting it already, Krelthar muttered. What was that, Ambassador? Emma turned to look at him, and he suddenly understood what prey animals on her planet must have felt like when they realized they couldn't outrun the human chasing them. I said we're delighted to have you, Krelthar corrected smoothly. Absolutely delighted. Emma walked over to him, each step still causing minor seismic events that the facility engineers were definitely going to complain about later, and extended her hand. I look forward to working with you, Ambassador Krelthar. He stared at the offered appendage. What is this gesture? It's called a handshake. It's how humans greet each other and seal agreements. You clasp hands and shake them. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. Krelthar, who had faced down hostile armadas, negotiated with hive minds, and once endured a 6-hour opera performed by the crystalline chorus of Andromeda, found himself genuinely nervous about touching this small, fragile-looking human who made the ground shake when she walked. He extended his primary manipulator appendage. Emma grasped it firmly, not crushing, but with enough pressure to remind him that she came from a world with 1.4 times standard gravity and had evolved to chase down prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Welcome to the Council, Commander Rodriguez, he said, and meant it more than he'd expected to. Call me Emma, she said. I have a feeling we're going to be great friends. As Krelthar watched her walk away to meet the other council members, leaving a trail of minor seismic disturbances in her wake, he turned to Plix. Make a note in my personal log. Yes, Excellence. Today, the Galactic Council met humanity. They look fragile. They are not. They walk lightly. The ground disagrees. They smile when they should threaten and threaten when they smile. They are contradictions wrapped in optimism and held together with stubborn determination. Should I also note your opinion on their admission, Excellence? Krelthar watched Emma laugh at something the Lumina ambassador said, the sound carrying across the hall like music or a warning. He wasn't sure which. Note this. The galaxy will never be boring again. And somewhere in the back of the hall, the diplomat from Epsilon Eridani was still softly crying and calling for their mother. The end. Or possibly the beginning. With humans, it was always hard to tell the difference.